I want to say welcome to our handpan class, live handpan class here on YouTube. It's 1 o'clock, so we're going to give it a start. We've got some excellent fun stuff for you today. We've got an excellent guest. Einstein Brown will be joining us. And we've got all sorts of information about the handpan history and how to play the handpan later on. We also have like a little bit of a review of our wonderful 10-year anniversary that we had last week. And so we're going to do all this fun stuff, and it's going to be really exciting. But first, before you do that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, click the red subscribe button on the right of your screen, I believe, underneath the image there. And that way you'll be notified whenever we go live or whenever we post new videos. So if you have any questions about handpans, we frequently post videos about how to make them, how to tune them, how to play them, and also our live broadcasts. So we've got all sorts of stuff coming up today, so please stay tuned and engaged. If you have any questions, by the way, throughout the video, we have somebody live monitoring the comments. So if you want to have a question answered, feel free to put a comment into the comments below the video, and then they'll let me know what the question is, and hopefully I will be able to answer your question live as we are going through the show today. So feel free to do that, make a comment anytime, and hopefully we can get your questions answered as we go through the live show here. All right, I'm David Beery, owner of DII, Dave's Island Instruments, and I first started making musical instruments back in the early 1990s, and they were called steel drums from the Trinidadian, or the island of Trinidad and Tobago, island nation of Trinidad and Tobago, down in the Caribbean. And I've been doing that for ages and ages and ages. I've gotten to know a lot of people from the Caribbean and from Trinidad, and Einstein's one of them. He lives here in California now, in Los Angeles area, as do I. And so we're going to have a fun time talking about some of the history of the instrument, the steel drum, and how it developed into the handpan in the year 2000. So I'm going to bring Einstein on screen now. Einstein, are you there?
Good afternoon.
There he is. Einstein, how you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful, Davey.
Excellent. I like your mask, by the way.
Yeah, it's all about good trouble, you know.
Of course. Yes.
And if
Sweet.
you're gonna get in trouble, make it a good one.
Yeah. So should I put my mask on too?
I'll put my
Well,
mask on.
what happened is, over the last week or so, I had an allergy attack. So,
Ah.
yeah. So I'm just recovering from that.
All right.
Hence the mask. But, you know, if you're not gross out about it, cool.
Yeah. Let me guess. Were your allergies started because of the fires?
No, it's because of dietary
Ah.
intake. Yes, I ate something that had some kind of allergic reaction. I
Yeah.
had an allergic reaction too.
Bummer. All right. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better this week.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So before we get started with our interview, we're going to take a look at a video that a customer of ours, Victoria Cleveland, sent to us. She recently got...
Online too.
Oh, she's online. Hi, Victoria. She got a handpan from us recently and was congratulating us on our 10-year anniversary. So let's take a look at that video real quick.
Hello, my name is Victoria. I live in Royal Oak, Michigan. I want to congratulate you on your 10-year anniversary. I think that's wonderful. And the fact that you're doing the handpan and the ukulele classes on the weekends gives me something to look forward to in these trying times. There isn't too much information out there on the handpans, so I really do appreciate the classes. And when I was able to get mine, this is what I was able to come up with so far.
Wow. Awesome. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was terrific. I'm so glad to see you playing that, Victoria. That's wonderful. So thank you for providing us with that video. I'm glad you allowed us to show it and everything. It's totally great because it shows you what you can do within a short period of time with a handpan. You can learn a little song of your own. And actually, Einstein and I are going to talk a little bit about songwriting towards the end of this video today, too. So thank you again, Victoria. It's really wonderful to see you on screen.
Good job, Victoria.
Yep.
I'm gonna
Daniel
come
says
up.
thanks, too.
I don't need to be in this.
All right, Einstein, we're going to talk about our 10-year anniversary real quick. It was a real big success. We just did it last week. But interestingly, it so happens that you and your band were here on my grand opening 10 years ago. So give us a little reflection of what we did at our grand opening there and what you guys played.
At that time, I was working on a project with the Long Beach Steel Drum School. I had about 10 students, all teenagers and younger age. And we came out there and we had a blast, really. We did quite a few songs, you know, and I think the audience really enjoyed what the kids were doing, you know. On the squad, I also had Derek Brewster as my assistant arranger and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Great, man.
Oh, totally great. You guys played really authentic Trinidadian arrangements yourself. Wrote a lot of those arrangements, right?
Yes. I think Mr. Carrillo was there as well, right?
Oh, yeah, Phil was there. Yep.
Phil Carrillo, yeah.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to, I think you can go back on our Facebook videos or Facebook images, like all the way to the beginning, and you'll see some of these videos that we posted on Facebook years and years and years ago. So that was a really wonderful event. Thank you again for doing that, Einstein.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Thank you.
All right, hey, tell us a little bit about yourself really quick. Just give us like a little bit of a background, how you first got involved with steel drums in Trinidad, how you came to America maybe, and maybe how you met me. That'd be kind of fun.
Well, I was born in a village called, I was born in Port of Spain West, which is like Woodbrook, St. James area. My family migrated from the southern part of the island to Laventille, which is the home of the steel drum. In that village there are more steel orchestras than you could find grocery stores. Growing up there, the sound of the making of the steel pan or the steel drums was pretty annoying. So for a long time, I really never took interest in it. But as I grew older and listened to the actual resonance and the beauty of this crystal sounding instrument, it drew me in. And I first started learning how to actually retune and make the steel drum under the tutelage of Bertie Marshall, Tony Slater, Rudolph Charles, Wallace, and those are some of the guys that really innovate the sound of the instrument in Laventille. After doing so, I decided I wanted to learn to play, and I joined a band called Invaders from Woodbrook. Then I left Invaders, and with Bugsy Sharp and a few of my friends, we formed a band called Woodbrook Modernaires. And from there, I went on to play with Phase 2 Pan Groove. After doing so, I played a few combos, which was surprising that the steel pan in a combo wasn't a thing in the 70s, you know, because the steel pan was one of those instruments that was pretty much an outcast kind of instrument. But having it in a combo brought it to the forefront that people started to recognize its importance and how beautiful the sound of the instrument is.
You know, that's let me interject real quick. You were just mentioning that it wasn't always in the instrument, steel drum, when it was first being developed, a lot of families didn't want their kids or whatever to get involved because it was like a dangerous activity or something like that. I can't quite remember all of the details. But it's funny because in particular now in a modern era, everybody, you know, envisions the steel drum, steel pan, as being this really happy instrument. Everybody wants to get involved for the parties, and it's a very positive kind of thing. But at the time when you were growing up, it was a little bit iffy still, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it was associated with vagabonds or the rude boys or the bad boys of that time, they would pretty much be ones that would get in fights. And the reason they get in fights because African heritage and culture is a tribal thing. So if you're from the east and you say that you're the best, and then the band from the west say that they're the best, and the band from the north say that they're the best, you know, becomes a tribal kind of thing. Eventually, they came up with the idea of having a steel band panorama, settle the score.
Right.
So all the steel bands come together and vie in this competition for the number one place to really prove who's the best.
Yeah. And so that's still going on, still ongoing, right? So if you went to Trinidad in, what is it, March or April?
Season. Yeah.
Yeah, what season is it again? The Lent?
Yeah. Before
Yeah.
the Lenten season. Yes.
Yeah, so they have their carnival down there in Trinidad, and the panorama is when they have these big, gigantic steel bands of 100 members or more, which is huge. It's like a parking lot full of people and steel drums, and they all play one song for about 8 or 10 minutes.
Correct.
And if you haven't seen it, go on YouTube, look up Trinidad Panorama. Just search for that on YouTube, and you're going to find all these videos of these outstanding bands playing these intense arrangements of songs, calypsos, and that sort of thing that they've have on the radio down in Trinidad.
Yes. And one of the interesting things for me, why I joined, because, like you said, the orchestration lend itself to like classical music, jazz music, and any genre of music really. And I wanted to learn and get an idea on how all of these formulas work on the steel pan. Now, mind you, 60% of the players in the panorama competition do not read music.
Right.
It's all listening to a rhythmic pattern and playing it back.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. Taught
man.
by rote frequently, right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I was I couldn't. I went back in the '90s when I first started listening to Panorama. I would listen to these CDs that have like 10 panoramas on them, like the
Yeah.
whole thing, just like
Yes.
one after the next. And
Yes.
it's as a beginner, sometimes it's hard to do because this is like a wall of sound coming at you. But man, I was loving it so much that I would just listen to every single song. I would learn all the parts. I would write down.
Yeah.
I would try transcribing this stuff. It was a lot of fun.
Well, the amazing thing was when I joined Phase 2 in Panorama, I played in 1979. By then, we had a lot of foreigners from the US, Japan, and Europe actually coming to Trinidad and recording the music and then coming back and transcribing it. And that's how it spread, kind of like, how a bird or a butterfly or one of those insects will actually pollinate,
Mm.
So with you guys, foreign pollinate the rest of the world, with the sound of the steel pan, which made it something that it's revered now and everybody's looking, like you said, it's something that everybody wants to enjoy because it's such a happy energy that it brings.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah. And, interestingly, the way the handpan was developed later on is one of those pollinating animals or insects pollinated over in Switzerland, and that's where the handpan was developed later on. We'll get back to that in a little bit, but just interesting
Yes.
that that's part of how the handpan was developed is because people took the tradition of the steel pan from Trinidad and took it over to Switzerland, and that's how the people that made the handpan learned their trade. So... But really quick, for a little bit more about you. So let's fast forward now. So now I recall a story. You came to Los Angeles, and I'm not sure all the details there, but I heard that you were on a Star Trek episode. You played steel
Yes.
drums on a Star Trek, right?
Yes.
Yes!
This is the
Called
guy.
the Warlord, and it's where the woman is the captain. I think it's Voyager.
Okay.
Yes. And they were having a party and they wanted to actually have a hologram of what Earth people used to dance to or party to. So I was beamed up as a hologram. You wouldn't recognize me because I had hair back then and full beard,
Yeah.
uh, and I was in my Star Trek outfit. Yeah, man.
The good old days. I think I looked up that episode at some point and found it. I can't remember what number it is or anything like that, but it's out there. It's
Yes.
still being played.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's fun.
I gotta watch that.
The first steel drum out of space.
Yeah. So, all right, so let's move ahead for a little bit farther now. You and I got to know each other, I think, at some point. I remember in college, I was still living with my mom and up in Whittier, and I
Yes.
was making steel drums out of my garage, and somehow we
Yes.
got acquainted, and I remember you coming to the garage, and we got to meet each other. That was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Yeah, it was you and Chris Wabich.
Yeah.
I would come over there and just hang with you guys and watch you guys work on your skills.
Yeah.
And amazingly, that I was, like in my earlier years before playing, was doing the same thing that you were doing. So it was very engaging and how should I put it, magnetic, that drew me to you.
Ah.
And our friendship blossomed from there to this very moment. And I think it's wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
No, I was so humbled and honored that you would be there and hanging out with us and supporting us. It was really amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah, good job.
And then later on, you and I went to Alaska together, didn't we?
Yes.
So I heard you had a story about us in Alaska and a rowboat.
Oh yeah. You know, when Dave and I went to Alaska, was a very learning experience because I haven't, or but at that time, I pretty much had got out of the tuning of the play of the steel drum, and more into the actual performing of the instrument. And Dave asked me to join him in Alaska to come on as his second chair. you know, it was no night over there in Alaska. It was just kind of like um, dusk, pretty much. 12 o'clock at night looked like dusk.
Yeah.
But anyway, at the end of our trip, Dave and his friends decided, we're going to actually take the rowboat and go from point A to point B, and then we'll go to the airport. Lo and behold, I was the one that had to do the rowboat thing. But I've never rowed a boat in my entire life. So it was very interesting that, with a rowboat, most of the time your dominant hand wants to move,
Yeah.
which causes it to go in a circle. So until I catch the rhythm, of using both, and then use either one to guide you to the left or to the right, you know. But man, I had to row from point A to point B. While we all just chill, and this is your boy. Just
Well, I think I had my chance to row the year before or something like that, so I think it was your turn.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Another thing about that trip was, I think over there they have so much water. Um, it was mosquito season, plenty mosquitoes. Oh my gosh, they were everywhere.
Oh yeah, good old Alaska.
But they were not biting me. That's the strangest thing.
Oh, they bite me though.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think they like black meat.
Oh, okay.
They like white meat.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's all good. So now that we have that story out of the way, thank you. We're gonna move back into our little handpan.
Denise Taylor. Do you guys know Denise Taylor?
I don't know. Is Denise? Denise Taylor had something. Oh, Denise.
Denise says she loves the Alaska story.
Oh, Denise loves the Alaska story. That's a comment.
That's my wife.
Oh, Denise, very good, very good. Thank you for commenting.
Yeah, that's my wife. Man.
Oh,
Cool.
your wife listening.
Yeah. All right, so bringing it back. Let's bring it back. So we have the steel drums. You're from Trinidad. You said the steel drum culture was pollinated throughout the world, and I mentioned that one of those pollinating moments was taken over to Switzerland. There's a company over there called Pan Art, and Pan Art is the person were the people that actually made steel drums all through the 90s and I think part of the 80s as well. And then they also developed the handpan. So here we are. Now we're going to be talking about handpan. And So now we know the history with steel drums. So it comes from Trinidad. Steel drums were first developed, got to Switzerland. They then developed the handpan. So the handpan really is the child, I guess, of the steel drum. And so here we are. So the interesting thing is you've been playing steel drums for like most of your life. But I don't think you've ever really played one. You might have touched one at my studio or something like that once or twice. But we've got something exciting for our audience today.
This is going to be interesting.
That's right. So Einstein has one of our rental handpans. We sent it to him. We shipped it to him just like we would with one of our customers. And so we're going to show everybody how it is that you might receive one and some of the questions. Einstein's going to have some questions for us, like how do you unbox it? What do you do with it? How do you play it? And so here we go. We're going to start that whole little thing here. So this is going to be our handpan adventure for today. Our handpan class is for beginners and what you do with the handpan when you get it in the box in the shipping, when it's delivered to you. So here we go. All right, Einstein, show us what you're doing. And if you have any questions, just shout them out to me and I'll try to answer them as we go along.
First, you have to have a weapon of choice.
Ah, nice.
And as it says, it's fragile, so you have to handle with care.
Yes.
So first and foremost, this is the first cut.
This is so funny.
Now, first thing I would say, just don't go too deep because you don't want to scratch anything inside.
So, yes, I am going to be very cautious because it's fragile.
Have you ever played a handpan, Einstein?
So, I beg your pardon?
You've never played a handpan?
No, I've never played one before.
Oh my god, this is awesome.
Yes, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's very
All right.
interesting. Oh my god.
This is the big reveal.
The big reveal, here it comes.
It's called Boxing Day.
Yeah.
So David,
Yes, sir.
let's see here now. It's stuffed with a lot of brown paper.
Yeah, you can just pull that out.
This is
Ta-da.
awesome.
So what am I looking at here? What is this?
That is a black cover. So it's a plastic cover to keep it safe while it's being shipped so that the notes don't go out of tune.
So is this same molded covering can be used for the steel drum as well?
Not quite. It's the wrong size. I don't think it would fit, but
So
you
the
know, you could
dimension
develop
is-
one. Yeah, you could develop one, something like that. Yeah.
So the dimension of this is smaller than the steel drum itself.
Yeah, you know, it might fit in the bottom, but it might not be deep enough, though.
Okay. All right. Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, big removal. Ta-da. Oh, it's yellow on the back.
Yep. Anything that's yellow of ours is a rental handpan, so that way we know which ones are rentals and which ones are being sold as new instruments.
All right, but the purchased one have what color?
It's going to be like a bluish color, sometimes a brownish almond color. And we have various colors that come out sometimes because when we burn them, they sometimes change different colors. So the bottom can change from time to time.
Okay. Well, boys and girls,
Loosen, pull that, push the button, or there's like there's a thing, and then just loosen it.
and the release.
Yes, sir. And you don't have to do it all the way. You can just kind of go it to the end, and then it loosens it up.
It loosens.
And now that it's loose, it should come out pretty easily.
Ta-da.
It's
So-
lagging a little bit.
On the outer rim here, what is this?
The rubber part,
So it's just a rubber, and the reason for the rubber, please?
it just kind of hides the seam of the drum, but also it keeps it from scratching anything if you hit it against anything, or it makes it look nice mostly. Some people have noticed that it does kind of mute the handpan just a little bit, so some people do prefer taking it off to give it a little bit brighter sound, but I've never really noticed too much of a difference, so I always just leave it on.
Yeah, that would have been one of my questions if it would actually cause it to be a little bit muffled.
Right.
This is it. This is the top. This is the bottom. Now, in Trinidad, in Lavantil, well, there's a village called Chumacac
Okay.
up the hill, not too far from Desperados, and there was a steel band called Pan handlers.
Uh-huh.
And handlers had a design of their steel drums where it had this same kind of design on the bottom of the drum. So it kind of remind me of that a bit. And what
Yeah.
they would will actually insert their microphones here to get the actual audio.
Wow, cool. So they actually did that. When did you say that again?
That was back in the late 70s.
Oh, wow. So yeah, somebody already had the idea of having a bottom with a port in it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but it was to actually like for the basses and the lower instruments.
Yeah.
Was for those instruments primarily.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
that interestingly, having that bottom shell on the handpan, the way you're showing it right now, that's one of the reasons the handpan sounds a little bit different from steel drums, is because it does keep the sound inside of the instrument. Like on a steel drum, the sound just kind of goes
Resonate.
straight out from the instrument out into the air, whereas the handpan, the sound kind of gets stuck inside of the instrument a little bit and warms it up just a little bit.
Focus.
Yeah, focuses the sound. Yeah.
Does a Venturi effect still work with a sound?
I'm not sure about the Venturi effect. I think there's the Helmholtz.
Helmholtz.
Helmholtz is the frequency that comes out of there. It's like a bass tone.
Right.
All right, so you've got it in front of you now.
Yes.
So now, do you know how to set it up, how to orient it so that you could play it easily?
Well, I'm looking at where your insignia is here, so I figure that's the front.
That's pretty. Yeah, good guess. Good guess. So on those instruments, it's almost the front because we didn't have space for the logo underneath the exact front of it. So that logo is actually slightly skewed off to the left-hand side. It's like at the 11:30 position. If you were to put it in front of you, as if it was a clock,
Yes.
that DII logo is going to be slightly to the left, I believe.
Do I need to adjust my camera to the front?
Oh no, that's good enough for now. If you want, you can, but right now it's fine.
You can pull it back so you can see a wider view of it.
More?
A little more, maybe. Okay, cool. So yeah, so now you'll notice there's a big note in the middle. Do you know what that big note's called?
Big note.
The top.
Do you know what the top note, the big note right in the middle is called? Named?
Big note.
Yeah, do you know what the name of it is?
I'm not too sure, but it sounds somewhere within the range of D, C.
Oh, no. It has a specific name, not like a pitch.
He picked it though.
Oh,
So it's called the ding note.
the ding.
Yep, D-I-N-G, ding.
All right.
Because
all right.
when you strike it, it goes ding. Ding.
Ding.
And then you know the hole on the bottom that you showed us earlier?
Dong.
That's called the goo. G-U for
Goo.
goo port.
Oh, so a ding and a goo.
Yep, that's right. So the top is the ding and the bottom has the goo.
All
So
right.
and then the two pieces of metal, the yellow piece that you're showing right there, we call it the bottom shell.
Bottom shell.
And then the top part, the blue or gray color, is called the top shell.
Top shell.
Yep.
Top shell. Ding.
Yep. So
Goo.
the ding
Bottom
note.
shell.
And then the other notes that are around the top, the other notes that are around the edge of the instrument, we just call those tone field notes.
Tone field notes.
Yeah, so on a steel drum, I usually just call them notes. I don't know, what do you call them? Do you just call them notes?
Yes.
Yeah, so we just call them notes. In the handpan terminology, a lot of people call them tone fields.
Okay.
So I just put it all together, tone field notes.
Okay. Tone field notes.
Yeah. So,
All
but if
right.
you call them notes, or if I call them notes, or if you call them tone fields, or if I call them tone fields, it all means the same thing. So these tone field notes over here.
You say tomato.
Yeah. They have this little indentation. Do you see that little indentation in the middle of each one of those
Yes.
notes?
What is that called?
That's called a dimple.
A dimple.
Yes, sir.
Well, you know what? I thought this would have been a dimple, but this is a dimple because it's concave.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Yep. So, and these dimples, what they do is they kind of control the sound a little bit. With a steel drum, you have the real bright steel drum sound, right?
Correct.
And if you put this little dimple in the middle of the note, it actually controls the sound a little bit, makes it a little bit mellower, a little warmer sounding.
Kind of like an old-time steel pan.
Yeah, a little bit. But these are tuned with all sorts of harmonics, just like the steel drum. So and each one of these handpan notes, just like a steel drum is tuned. You know how a steel drum, basically they're usually oval shapes for the notes, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So sometimes they look square, sometimes they look round, but usually the steel drum notes are usually have an oval shape within the borders.
We call the oval shape in Trinidad teardrops.
Yeah, the teardrop shape, right. So the teardrop shape is the same thing on the handpan, and through the length of that oval is an octave is tuned, and through the width of it is tuned a fifth. And so you can, after a while, you can learn how to activate those and play those once you practice a little bit. Up front, it's a little bit difficult to try to find those sounds, especially for somebody who might not have learned music or doesn't know what a fifth is or doesn't know what an octave is. Yeah.
In tuning it, can harmonics change sometime to create the actual body of the tone? For example, you said the octave and the fifth. Is there sometimes that it may change to say, well, okay, you have the octave and a third or the octave and a ninth in order to get the right vibration?
It's possible. Most tuners still tune with the octave and the fifth because it has the most rich, natural sound.
Okay.
But there was a handpan that I tuned recently, and they had more of thirds that were kind of tuned to the side, and it just doesn't have a clear sound. The sound is less clear, less focused, but it has its own little nuance and its own little sound. So yeah, you can change those frequencies and the way you tune them, but most people really like the octave and the fifth kind of sound.
Right. Okay.
So go ahead. Do you have any other questions real quick before we start playing it?
Oh, just shoot, man.
Oh, just shoot. Okay. All right. So we know the names of the parts of the instrument. So we've got the ding note. We've got the bottom shell with the goo port. We've got the tone-filled notes around the edge, right? All right. So the next thing about how to set it up is where do the notes go? So you already figured out where the logo is. It's kind of towards the front, right?
Yes.
And so you're also going to notice if we start counting the notes, there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 notes. Is that the same on yours? Do you have 8 notes there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So normally on this style handpan, we're playing a D minor handpan, by the way. So this is a D minor, and we call it the sunset scale. And so the sunset scale, if you start with your left hand on the ding, like that.
He has to turn the handpan. He doesn't have it.
Okay. So you play that ding with your finger, right?
This one, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, let me back up a little bit. So let's just start on the ding. Let's just start playing a little bit, a few notes, just so we get comfortable with playing, how to get a sound out of the instrument. So what I do is I just hit it with my index finger, and I just strike it and come off of it immediately. Yeah. Okay. I'm not hearing you anymore. Are you still there? Oh, there it is. I'm hearing it now. Interesting. Okay, good. So yeah, you've got it. So what you want to do then is you just kind of have that same technique with the notes around the rim.
Oh, he's good. Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Cool. So yeah, a lot of people, some people have a real struggle with getting the sound out of the instrument because they sometimes will touch the note and they won't take their finger off of the note fast enough, and then it mutes the note. So what you're doing is just fine. You're striking it and pulling off your hand really fast so that it lets the notes resonate. So here's one other little trick we've learned. So one of our customers brought this to us. So this is one of those little service bells you've seen in a motel or a hotel, right?
Yes.
Right?
Ding.
Yeah. So it has a little button at the top. If you strike that button, it goes ding, right?
Yes.
But if you hold the button down, it mutes it, right?
Correct.
So if anybody ever struggles out there trying to figure out how to play their handpan, if they get one of these service bells, they can practice with a service bell. So it's the same kind of motion. All right, so let's try this, Einstein. Let's do 4. Strike the ding note 4 times with your right hand, and then 4 times with your left hand, like this. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, left, 2, 3, 4. Try that. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. That's good.
Okay.
All right. So now we need to make sure that the notes are going to be set up the way my notes are. If you start with your left hand and you go to the top note on the very, very top, it's going to be the high A.
He doesn't have it.
And it's going to be one of those notes next to the logo. It's going to be the smallest note.
He doesn't have a position. He has
Yeah.
to turn it.
Can you hear it?
Did you find it? Yeah, there it is. Okay. So that's going to be at that highest note right there is going to be at the 12 o'clock position if you're setting it up right in front of you.
Okay.
There you go. Yep. Perfect. Okay. So now we're going to start back on the back side of the instrument now. We're going to play the ding note with your left hand. Uh-huh. And then your right hand is going to play the biggest note next to your belly. Right.
You got it.
Uh-huh. Good. So let's just do that much. Let's just go from left to right. So the ding note to the A note. Ding, ding to the A.
Nope.
So that's the high A. So just do the low ding to the big note next to your belly.
He's doing it.
There it is. There it is. Yeah. So you've got root fifth, D A, right?
Yes.
Good, good. Okay, so now we've got left to right. Now your next, what we're going to do is we're going to create a scale now. We're going to play the scale of the hand. So you're going to play left, right, left, right, left, right, left. So it's like all going to be alternating. Start on your left hand. So
Wonderful.
if you start with your left hand on the ding, it goes left, right goes to the low A next to your belly.
Hmm?
And next to your opposite side of your belly is a C.
Got it.
That's it. Good, good. Okay, so we've got D, A, C. Good, 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 good. Let's do that one more time. So D, A, C, D, A, C. Okay, good. That's it. Some people also, they're not really familiar with musical terms, so sometimes we just count these by number. We can say 1, 2, 3 also, if that works better.
Quick question.
Oh, wait, we've got a question, Einstein. Hold on, we've got a question.
All right. Denise Taylor, your wife is asking.
Your wife has another question for us.
A question for Dave. Does the note sound different if the handpan is in your lap?
Does the note? Yeah, well, the handpan will sound slightly different maybe if it's in your lap, primarily because the goo hole in the bottom might be touching something, or something might be close to it, which might prevent the sound from coming out entirely. So slightly, but it's not terribly different.
We have one more question.
Oh, one more question.
From Alice.
Alice has a question.
Alice is asking, what's the best way to develop independence with your non-dominant hand? I can keep a rhythm with my right, but once I add the left hand, they both want to do the same thing.
All right, Einstein. Here's a question that you might even be able to help us with steel drums. The person's asking, their dominant hand is their right hand, and their non-dominant hand is their left hand, and they're trying to find independence with their left hand. So let's say you have, like, if you're playing the ding note 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 like this, but she wants to play some kind of rhythm with her left hand.
Yeah.
Right? So what would you suggest, Einstein? What kind of thoughts do you have on that?
For me, when I first started to learn to play the steel pan, there were 2 exercises that they would give you in the steel orchestra. One of them is called Mama and Dada. And they would start with the left hand playing Mama, Dada, Mama, Dada. And then the other one will be 1, and 3 beats. So it'll be 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3. And that will, with practicing that, you start slowly and then you increase tempo. Those are the
Yeah.
exercises that I learned.
Yeah, interesting. So, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's mama, dada, and then mama, da, 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 papa, da, 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 ma, da, 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 da.
Interesting. I love the way using the terms mama and dada. That's great.
Yeah.
So one thing that I've done in previous lessons, I have this one simple exercise where I have both hands playing together at the same time. So I actually use the 2 notes on either side of the handpan. So I've got on my right hand side is the D. Einstein, can you find that D? It's the high D. You got it? Okay, good. So the right hand is there. On the opposite side is an E, which is their left hand. Good. Okay. So what I do on this exercise, I stay on those 2 notes. And this is to work on getting independence on your hands and trying to get your left hand and your right hand to work together in a way that they can play independently. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to play together. So it's going to sound a little bit dissonant, but that's okay. So we're going to play those notes together for 8 times. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? Cool. Right. So that's easy, right? Most people can do that. So now what we're going to do next is we're going to separate those hands. So the right hand is only going to play, or the right hand's going to play 8, like we just did. But the left hand is going to play only the odd numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. See how I did that? So that forces your brain to realize, oh, my right hand is playing consistent notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the left hand has to only play half of those notes, just the odd numbers, right? Then you can flip-flop that, so your left hand can play all 8 notes, and your right hand can play the odd numbers. So we can do it like this. So the left hand plays 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and your right hand's just going to do 1, 3, 5, 7. So that's going to look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? And if you want to, you can flip-flop those. So the whole exercise would look something like this. Together, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Left hand is odd notes now. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Go back together. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now your right hand plays the odd numbers. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So it's a little bit of a brain teaser because you have to think, okay, I'm playing together, then playing separately, playing together, playing separately on the opposite side. Now, if you want to give it the extra step of learning a little bit more beyond that, you can do the even numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the same thing on the opposite hand. So those, just was it April? Alice. So that's just what I would suggest to you, just to get started. Once you get that developed, you can stay consistent on one note, and then just move that exercise around the drum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Next thing you know, you just created a melody over here with your left hand. Your right hand stayed independent on the opposite side. So with that simple exercise, you can kind of challenge yourself with some different options and make it a more difficult exercise just with the simplicity of it. So awesome. Thank you. If anybody else has any more comments, feel free to put them in the comment section. Yes, Einstein.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You ever use any of your other fingers?
Yes. In fact, that's a really good question. Usually I kind of go over that a little bit at the beginning of the video. Okay. So I typically use my index finger to play the handpan. Right? But you can use your middle finger. You can use any of the fingers. The small finger, little finger here, tends to have a real whispery sound because it's not a very strong finger. But kind of looks cool, right?
Yeah.
My hands fluttering like that.
Yes.
So you can use any of your fingers to create whatever kind of effects you want to get out of the instrument. And that's one of the delightful things when you're watching somebody play the handpan. Frequently, the really good players, they use different fingers for different sounds that they want to get. So feel free to experiment with all the different fingers on your hand. You can even use your thumbs. And the thing that's interesting about the thumb is that some people are not comfortable with the striking motion of using the index finger, but they're more comfortable using their thumb. And so you'll notice it's a different action. So your wrist is spinning in a rotary fashion with the thumb.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas this is more of a slap or a flat kind of position of the wrist. So some people just gravitate to one or the other. And I've seen really excellent players play with any of those fingers, thumbs, fingers, little finger, whatever it is. So yeah, you can use any of them. You can use your knuckles. Right? You can do all sorts of fun stuff. So yes.
Stephanie loves the tips. Stephanie Bandini.
Oh, you like the tips of your fingers?
No. Stephanie Bandini loves the tips.
Oh, just the tips in general. Great. Okay, thank you. Hi, Stephanie. Thanks for watching. All right, so Einstein, let me continue real quick. I want to get all the way up at the scale of the handpan. So earlier we started on our left hand, right hand, left hand. Right? So now we're going to keep going right, left after that. So it's just going to kind of go from opposite sides of the instrument from this point on. So it's going to go left on the ding, right on the big note towards your belly, left on the next big note towards your belly, and then right hand over on the side. Good, that D, yep. And then the left hand on the E. Right, and then your right hand's going to reach more towards the front now to the next note, the F. Yep, you got it. And your left hand reaches forward again to the G. Good, and then your right hand is the last note, the highest note, the A. Okay, good. So you're going to start on your left hand on the ding, and you finish with your right hand on the high A.
Okay.
Okay? So let's just try that really slow. Let's just go left on the ding. Yeah, you got it. So let's go left on the ding, right on the A. Good, left on the C. Good, right on the D. Left on the E. Right on the F. Good, left on the G. And right on the A. Nailed it. You're an excellent student, Einstein.
Thank you, Professor.
All right, so as you have that, you can just practice going straight up the scale. Right, and just slowly but surely you get better at it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just like that.
He went backwards too.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so now here, let me just give you another quick tip on how to play the handpan. It's just like a comfort kind of tip. You notice how when you're playing right now, your hands are on the notes that are toward your belly. Your hands look like that they're angled really sharply like this.
Yeah.
So if you want, you can take the handpan and lift it up so that those notes are more flat. Right? So you lift up the back of the instrument. Right, you can do it a little bit like that. And you're seated in a larger chair. If you were seated in like a folding chair with a stand in front of you, it would be a little bit easier to do this.
Okay.
But if you just move the handpan, the back of it up towards your chin a little bit more, like the way you did, then these notes here on the larger notes towards your belly, your wrist is a little bit flatter now compared to what it was before, which makes it a little bit more easy and more comfortable to play. So just FYI, as you're playing it, if you're finding that you're getting discomfort or you're having a hard time playing those notes in the back, you might want to just try lifting up the handpan and changing the way the handpan is oriented or positioned to make it easier for you to play.
Wonderful.
Yes, sir. All right, so now I wanted to ask you a quick question. So we did our unboxing. You showed us how to take it out of the box. We had some questions and answers. I gave you a couple little lessons on how to play the instrument. We talked about rhythm actually with, was it Alice's question? Yes. April,
yeah.
Alice? Sorry. Alice had some good rhythm questions there for us. Now, I wanted to talk with you quickly before we finish up with our little episode here. Is you have written songs. I know you're a songwriter. You are an absolute professional musician. You go out on the weekends and throughout the week playing gigs, and you've been doing that for pretty much your entire life. So I wanted to get your ideas of how you would approach writing a song on the handpan. And I know it's something new and different to you right now, but just like give me your initial thoughts of what you might consider if you were to write a song on the handpan.
Well, it has to do with the lady Alice's that asked the question earlier about the different rhythmic patterns.
Yeah.
For me, because it's such a rhythmic instrument like the steel drum, the entire family of the percussive family is pretty much rhythmic. So for me, it all depends on what I'm feeling.
Okay.
So for right now, I will start with 2 notes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice.
That is what I would start with,
Okay.
and build on that. Start with 2 notes, then 3 notes, and just keep building
Yeah.
until I use all 8 notes.
Right. So you were pretty intuitive just then playing the instrument. Now you didn't really know what notes you were striking, right? You weren't thinking to yourself D, A, C, or anything like that. You were just playing what you heard, correct?
Yes, what you just showed me there, using the this.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I was pretty much, hearing it.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier in our conversation, that the steel pan and the steel drum in all of these ensembles, it's more air driven.
Right.
So you could hear and pretty much see how the note and them moving. I don't know if that makes sense,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, that's what I heard, and that's what I put together.
Yeah. So if you were not using a handpan, if you were just using like your voice, a steel drum, and like a classic quartet, like drum set, bass guitar, some kind of chord instrument like a guitar, steel drum, and then your voice, which would be the melody. How do you normally go about writing a song? Do you start with the rhythm first? Do you start with the bass line? Do you start with the melody? Do you start with the words? Some people start with lyrics first and they figure out the song after they have the words. What's your favorite process?
Most of the time I come up with a melody, like what I just did.
Yeah.
Tabadim, bam-ba-dim, dim, tabadim, la la la,
Yeah.
la la. And then I would pretty much put the rhythm behind that, which is the percussive part of it, as far as how fast, how slow. Then build the chordal patterns and work the bass line around the groove of whatever it is. Because with harmony and chords and stuff like that, the movement of 2 notes can go in 12 different directions, for me.
Right.
I'm sure, So having a melody most of the time is where I would start, for me,
Okay.
and then I'll build from there with my rhythm as far as tempo, how fast, how slow, what kind of genre, also then the chordal part of it, whether it's the guitar, the piano, whatever, what have you,
Yeah.
Nice.
Now, interesting, like, so with the handpan, it's a little bit different because we don't have all those 4 elements. We don't really have the melody separate from the chord, separate from the rhythm, and separate from the bass. So frequently when I'm playing the handpan, I'm trying to develop ideas. I try to think about those ideas, though. I try to think like, okay, am I doing a rhythm like a drum set right now? And if I am, maybe I can just do this. Right? So there you got your drum idea. If you want to play like a bass, like a bass line, right? You kind of come up with a bass idea. Chords, with the handpan with chords, you can usually play two notes that are next to each other, and they usually sound pretty good together. Right? Something like that. You can have chords rolling back and forth. And then for the melody, it's kind of like what we were doing earlier with the scale. It can be more linear. The line of the melody can kind of go up and down. That sort of thing. So whenever I try to suggest ideas to people on how to write melodies on handpan, I never actually thought about it like this with the discussion you and I just had, like developing a regular song. But yeah, you can break it into those parts. You can break it into melody, harmony, and then just try to use those all on the same instrument and kind of develop those ideas.
Yeah, yeah. Nice.
Alice was saying this is exactly what she wanted to hear.
Oh, good.
Diva says don't forget about the interstitials, but you just showed us the interstitial, so maybe explain that to Einstein. And Diva also says, Einstein, you are awesome.
So Diva gave us some comments there, and it was Alice too, right?
Yeah, Alice.
Yeah. So Einstein, I did forget to show you one thing about the handpan, and actually I told you earlier I wanted to show you how to play a certain rhythm. We call it the Austin Funk. You can leave it on your head, your face. That's good. It's nice to see your face actually.
No, okay.
So anyway, so on the handpan, I didn't mention it earlier, but you know how I told you about the ding note in the center?
Yes.
And then you've got the tone-filled notes around the edge, right?
Yes.
But there's metal between all of those notes right? So the metal that's between those is called interstitial metal.
Inter what?
Interstitial.
Spell it, please.
Interstitial. Interstistial.
Okay.
Oh, is it? Interstitial. And when I used to make steel drums I would call that the dead space, and I'm not sure what Trinis call it.
We call it dead space.
Okay, the dead space, yeah. Because it's not producing a tone, it's not producing a specific tuned pitch. It just has like a dead sound or a muted sound. So on the handpan, it's all these spaces between the notes that you can strike to create percussive sounds. So my favorite spot is kind of like over here on my right-hand side, because my right hand is dominant. There's like a little triangle area a little bit between these three notes over here.
Yes.
I can kind of imagine it. But I like striking my hand right in the middle of that one to create this dead sound. So if you want to try that, let's see. Yeah.
Keep your finger
right.
there.
Right. So what I do normally on this kind of, when I want to produce this sound, I actually keep my finger on the metal like that. I strike it and kind of keep my finger on the metal. Yeah. Kind of gives it a nice attack and a nice slap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I would use for the backbeat. So let's say I was like a drummer playing a drum beat. So my right hand typically plays the backbeat there on that interstitial metal. And then my left hand typically plays the ding note like it's a bass drum. So like bass, snare, that kind of thing. So does that make sense to you on your end there?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got bass, snare. Right, good. So on this rhythm, we're just going to do like the basic, we call it the Austin Funk. It's just going to be a basic rhythm. It's going to sound like this. Right? Make sense?
Yep.
Want to try it? Excellent. Awesome. You got it. Okay, so now the only trick that I would say, one suggestion I would make for you is on the ding note, try to release it so that the sound is long, has a nice sustain to it.
Okay.
So release
so don't
that.
mute it.
Yeah, not muted. So the right hand is going to be muted. The left hand is not going to be muted.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Try that one more time.
Nice.
There you go. Yeah, already experimenting. Cool. So on this one, now we're going to do a little thing at the end. So we're going to play that 3 times, and then on the 4th time, we're going to stop, and we're going to play the C to D like this. So it's going to go left, right, left, right.
Okay.
Good. So now listen to the whole thing and see if you can figure this one out. So it's going to go left, Second time through the repetition. Third time. Stop on the fourth here. Stop and. Want to try that?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Give it a try. Let's see what happens. Nice. Cool. All right. So after you do that, you just start the whole thing over again. So let me show you how the whole thing sounds so you know what you're looking forward to. And then let's see if we can, I don't know if we can play it together or not. I don't know. But let's just see what happens here. 1, 2, me, and left. 2, 3, 4, rest. Back to the beginning. 2, 3, 4, rest. Listen. Nice, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you hear it?
It comes in and out on my end, but yeah, for the most part, yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So we call that the Austin Funk. And
Austin Funk.
yeah, the reason I like to teach that one is because a lot of people do pick up on it pretty quickly. And it's one of those things that if you ever get a handpan, you have your first gig at your first coffee shop, and you bring your handpan, you can play this one as people walk in the door. You can be like, Einstein, how's it going, man? It's great to see you. Thanks for coming out to Starbucks tonight because I know you really want to get your coffee. And by the way, my tip jar's over there. So please throw a tip in the tip jar because I didn't bring this handpan to this coffee shop for nothing. Right? So this can be your first intro song. It's easy to play and you know, it's something you can incorporate the voice with. Like you could even do a rap with it. You could do a song with it. You could do poetry. I'm not really good with poetry, but you could do like row, row, row your boat gently down the stream.
That's me.
Merrily, merrily, all that, right? You can come up with anything over this rhythm.
That's me in Alaska.
That's right. Bringing it all back. We're bringing it all back today.
Row
Yeah.
your boat.
So you get the idea, right? So this is a great rhythm to start with a handpan. It just gets you started. I showed you the scale earlier. So now that we did all this, what do you think? Do you think that you're like a pro handpan player now? Do you think you can go out and start playing some gigs?
Well, you brought me to the question of tutelage. Now, with all of that's going on right now with the pandemic, classes to actually learn more about the instrument and how to execute it better. Do you have classes for that, or just everybody just go on a free form, or is there instructional tutorials for that?
Yeah, right. For the most part, what we've been doing here at DII for quite a while now is doing stuff like this, what I just worked with you on. Usually getting the beginner started on intro to, you know, how to play it and all that sort of thing. And we do this bi-weekly. We have guests like yourself, and we just kind of show the basics. And usually people run with it from then. But people have asked us the same question multiple times. So what we've done is we've created actually a series of lessons that are going to be coming out fairly soon. Hopefully we're going to get these produced for the winter time. And it's going to be a series of lessons that take you more in depth onto the things we were talking about today. So if you're having troubles, you can focus in on those troubles. It's going to be talking about all sorts of stuff like that. So yes, we are going to be coming out with some more lessons that people can watch and learn from.
One last, well, it's a two-part question. Be care for the instrument as far as cleaning, because you know your fingers have a lot of oils, and tuning of the instrument. Just that I would like to ask. How is that?
Excellent. And those are really good questions. A lot of people have those questions. So luckily on the handpans that we built here at DII, like this one that I have, has a powder coating on it, which is really strong and durable. It can scuff a little bit if like you get sand on it and you brush it off or something like that. The sand could scuff it a little bit or scratch it. But as long as you don't scratch on it or rub it in dirt or whatever, it should be really strong and durable. Water basically just runs right off of it. I've done tests with lemon juice on these. I've done tests with acid on these. And this coating that we put on is super durable and it doesn't really affect it at all. And then we also have a stainless handpan when made from stainless steel, and it resists corrosion really well as well. So that's kind of the care and taking of the handpans that we build. In the larger handpan world, a lot of people make handpans out of different materials and with different kind of things. And in fact, I think the handpan that you have right there might only be spray painted with a clear coat spray paint. And the paints and some other kind of things that handpans are made out of, if it gets scratched and water gets on it, then yes, it can start to rust. With our handpans that we rent, the customer doesn't really need to worry about that too much. We'll take care of it when it's returned. But like if you had a personal instrument and it was a painted instrument and it starts to rust, it can be problematic. Usually, like I've been working with steel drums for decades now. And I'm sure you've had this experience too. You've probably played on a rusty drum for 20 years at some point, right? And it still plays.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Come on.
So, rust, a lot of people don't like the way rust looks because it does look kind of funky and it looks like something's wrong with the instrument. But as long as it doesn't like start eating into the metal deeply and creating pits and problems like that, if it's just surface rust, you can kind of wipe it off. And it's usually not a super duper problem.
Asking Windex or Clorox type wipes on a powder coater.
Yeah, so the powder coated drums here, Alice had a question. She wanted to know, can she use Windex or water or what?
You probably can.
What's that?
I say you probably can.
Yeah, on these powder coated ones, again, yes. Windex, I usually suggest Windex or some kind of glass cleaner because if you're eating French fries or pizza before you play the handpan, you might get oil all over it. And so you need to have something that cuts the grease, right?
Yes.
So water wouldn't really work very well in that case. But in general, just to wipe off dust, water is fine. Glass cleaner is great.
In that case, I'll put it in my dishwasher.
Yes, put it in the dishwasher. Well, disclaimer, don't do that. Don't do that. I like the idea, though. So she also asked about what do you call them? Clorox wipes and that sort of thing, to keep them virus-free, perhaps. So yes, you can use Clorox wipes. I've even put alcohol, 99.9% isopropyl alcohol on these, and I haven't had any issues. So these are really good instruments, and they're made to last. So even the stainless instruments, on the stainless, because since it's exposed metal, I would test a small area before you try it on the entire instrument, like with the alcohol or with the Clorox wipes, just to make sure if it stains it. You don't want to stain your entire instrument. Just try it in a little small spot to see if any stains stay. And if a stain is there, see if you can remove the stain with the Windex or water. And if it doesn't remove, then don't use that product. But that's pretty much my advice on those instruments.
Okay, and tuning.
Tuning, that's right. Okay, so what's your experience with tuning on a steel drum? You tell us. How do you know that your steel drum needs to get tuned?
For me, as an instrumentalist, I can hear how the notes correspond with each other harmonically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I know it's either sharp or flat. And just get a whole blend so that the whole instrument, when you play from the lowest note to the highest note, that they all sound harmonically in harmony together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd probably see you come in. You probably drop your steel drum off to get it tuned, once a year, maybe once every 6 months, maybe, depending on how much you play it?
Yes.
Yeah, so generally probably 6 months to a year is what you usually play it quite a bit. So you play your instrument quite a bit, and it still takes that duration of time for you to feel like, hey, I think I need to get it tuned. A lot of people do have that question about handpans, and what I usually tell them is it reminds me of a piano in somebody's house. Some people will play a piano for 20 years and they'll never get it tuned, and they're as happy as can be. They love playing that thing. Other people, they'll want to get it tuned every 3 months because there's one little note that's bugging them. And so that's kind of the way I see it with handpans. Most people are not going to notice when it goes slightly out of tune. And that's okay, because the human ear can only hear so much. But when we put it onto our electronic devices, we can really see how out of tune or in tune it is. So that's basically it. If you start noticing something, or if you drop it and then one of the notes goes way out of tune, obviously you'd want to contact us, and we can tune it for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Einstein.
Good insight.
Yeah. Hey, man.
We're 11 minutes over, but
This was an amazing live broadcast today.
Yeah.
You're the first person I've ever instructed on handpan live on YouTube.
Well, all I have to say to this is that you've enlightened me in the knowledge of this new instrument. Before we came on, there was a still photograph you guys had of some ladies have their blankets spread out playing on the,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That kind of stuff makes it very communal, and that's great. That it's not complicated. You know, that a bunch of people could come together and just, you know, vibe harmonically, you know. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you very much for this. This is an amazing introduction to our family, to the steel pan family, to the hand pan family. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Einstein, and I'm so happy to be your friend, and I'm so glad that you agreed to do this interview with us. So until next time, I think we're going to sign off now. So if you want to keep playing, and I'll play, and we'll just play as Daniel tunes us out.
all right,
Yeah, man. Yeah,
All
man.
right.
Thank everybody. Next week is the ukulele class, and I know we went over a little bit today, but it's great information. You guys are awesome. Einstein, I learned so much from you. Even though you're still pan, it's kind of cool to see the back and forth. I have some comments here.
Oh, comments.
Alice says, very helpful. Thanks, guys. Denise says, you're beautiful.
Yay!
Did I say Stephanie? Nice to meet you, Einstein. Thanks for the class, David. It was really cool. So
Awesome.
Victoria saying thank you.
Yep.
So we have a lot of people out there. So let's give them.
Hey, Danny.
Yes.
The ukulele class is one of my daughters. She I think she came to you guys. Her name is Camilla. She
Okay.
came to get ukulele classes. Can she log on to your classes online like this?
Oh yeah, I do a live class on Saturday.
Okay, good.
Okay, so she can just come in. It's at 1 o'clock. I also do
Okay.
a Zoom jam, and then I've actually been doing socially distant jams over at the park also. So, and I'm trying to get more and more because people want to get together and play, and that playing with other people is probably it increases your skill level like by tenfold. It's like kind of crazy. So I want to keep
I'll
it
pass
like
that info on to her.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah. So let's
Awesome.
sign
Yeah,
off.
we're gonna jam here. So I'm gonna just play the ding note only. I'll play the rhythm. Einstein, you can play scales. You can play melodies. I think Daniel's got a drum over here too that he's gonna play a little bit with us. So we'll just
Right.
jam out. It might not sound good on the other end. Who knows? But we're just gonna jam out and sign off. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Have a great afternoon. Thank you, Einstein.